My name's Rachel Clawson. I'm a lecturer in social work here at the University of Nottingham. I work very closely with the Ancraft Trust, which is an organisation based here which works to protect people with learning disabilities from abuse. Together with the Ancraft Trust, I've undertaken some research looking at the issues of impacting on people with learning disabilities who are forced into marriage. I first started researching the issue of forced marriage of people with learning disabilities in 2009, and that came about because the work I was doing with the Ancraft Trust, I was travelling around the country speaking to frontline professionals who were dealing with safeguarding issues, and we were being told of cases relating to people with learning disabilities who were being forced to marry. And we talked to the forced marriage unit about this, and they didn't have very much information relating to specific cases and wanted to know more about it and wanted to be in a position where they could help practitioners deal with the issue in the most appropriate way. So the forced marriage unit funded myself with the Ancraft Trust to undertake some research looking at the motivators. Why is it that people force their children with learning disabilities to marry? What are the consequences of this? What are the warning signs? And this research ultimately led to us writing the practice guidelines which the forced marriage unit published, which help frontline practitioners manage the issues as they arise. I think it's impossible to actually say how many people with learning disabilities in the UK are being forced to marry. I think the cases that we know about are absolutely the tip of the iceberg. It's very much a hidden issue, a hidden problem, and it would be very difficult to actually, pinpoint what a figure might be. We can look at the statistics of cases reported to the forced marriage unit. That's around 1,400 a year, and yet other studies have suggested that the figure might be closer to 8,000 to 10,000 of all forced marriages. I think in the case of people with learning disabilities, there'll be lots of people who are at home with their families who aren't known to frontline services, who may well be being forced to marry, and we just don't know who these people are. We don't know how many cases there are. People can be forced to marry from any community in any country, and the forced marriage unit last year dealt with cases from across 74 different countries. The year before, I think it was 60 countries. So I think although the evidence suggests that most of the cases are from the South Asian community, we need to be looking much more widely than that. The main conclusions and recommendations from the research, the original research that we did, was that there needs to be a much better collation of statistics relating to people with learning disabilities. Safeguarding boards need to know who the people are in their area that are likely to be at risk, and to actually collect statistics on cases that are reported. Without a much more strategic understanding of what the issue might be, it's very difficult to see how we can plan to support people that might be at risk of forced marriage. There also needs to be a lot more thought given to how people are supported. So for refuge places, how men with learning disabilities might be supported. We know that the numbers of men being reported are much higher with people with learning disabilities than those without. So there needs to be support given there. But we also need to have a much better understanding about why it is that some families see forced marriage or see marriage as the best option for their child. Why is it that they're not looking at other forms of care that might be available within the UK?